Okay, we're ready.
Okay, it is 5:31, and this is the Tuesday, September 6th, 2022 meeting of the Architectural Review Committee of the City of Palm Springs. Obviously, there's no cell phones or pagers, but if you are listening on Zoom, please mute your audio so that you won't interrupt the discussions. And Mr. Newell, could you please take roll call?
Yes, Member Thompson.
Here.
Member Walsh is excused. Member Payline.
Here.
Member McCoy is excused. Member Lockyer.
Here.
Member Dozy is excused, and Vice Chair Rotman is excused. Chair Jakeway,
Here,
we have a quorum.
thank you. Could we please have a staff report on the posting of the agenda?
Chair and committee members, our agenda was posted on Tuesday, August 30th. Our meeting has been posted in accordance with state law.
Thank you. Does anybody on the committee have any revisions to the agenda? Could we have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Dan. A second?
Second.
Second by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Since this is a public meeting, audience members are permitted to comment on any item that's within this committee's purview. Comments on an item appearing on today's agenda are made at the time that that item is presented. If anybody would like to speak on an item not on today's agenda, you may speak now and you would have 3 minutes. David, has anybody indicated they had something to say?
No direct requests, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then let's move along to the minutes of the last meeting, the July 18th meeting. Does anybody have any revisions or changes to those minutes? Okay, seeing none, I think we can move on to our agenda. And item number 1 is the consent calendar, which is to approve the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve that? Excuse me.
Motion approved.
Steve, a second. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Okay, we can move on to unfinished business. Number 2, Richard Meany, owner for a major architectural application to construct a 4,000 square foot single-family residence on a hillside lot located on lot 64, Desert Flower Court. May we have a staff report, please?
Chair, let me get the PowerPoint to come up. Be able to see it full screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So
You've
the
got
ARC,
the dual screen right now.
swap it.
Yep.
There we go. So the ARC reviewed this project on July 18th in 2022 and requested some changes, actually some additional information. So and generally, the ARC agreed upon the house color schemes, the landscape plan, and the site layout. However, there were several things that you wanted to see further exhibits. So that include some solar gain on the south and west sides of the house, which windows could open, reduce some of the outdoor lighting, and then provide a solar plan for panels on the roof. So we'll go through these quickly one by one. So the applicant added some details over the windows, recessed some of the windows. So we'll go through some of these 3D images that were included in your packet. I'd like to point out that they've added metal fins on the ends of the building over the large windows, which you can see in this exhibit. On the south-facing windows, you can see that the window the square window has been recessed, and then they've added also the fins over the sliders. Just going through some of these, you can see the design elements of what they're proposing. They provided a greater detail of how these fins will be designed, the materials and so forth. And we can zoom in here and show how they'll be constructed and attached to the side of the building themselves. So you have in your packet 2 pages showing how these solar controlled panels fins would be added to the building itself. You also wanted to see what was natural air circulation, and the applicant is going to provide that information when I'm finished and you asked him to present. So we'll discuss that a little bit further on. You also asked to reduce the outdoor light fixtures, and the applicant provided a revised lighting plan. This is the revised lighting plan, and they reduced the number of units by 12. So they removed 12 of the fixtures. If we move to the next plan, you'll see that some of them were along the walkways, out here in the landscape, the uplightings. So to go back and forth, you can see that some were limited towards Desert Flower Court. So they addressed that issue. The ARC also asked to provide a roof plan showing how the solar panels will be affixed to the roof. This is an exhibit from Hot Purple showing possible locations of where the panels will go. The applicant has also come back and asked that some of the panels be added to the center portion of the house itself. And that's what you'll see in these 3D images. So there's 2 rows of larger panels and then a grouping towards the middle of the house. So just going through these quickly, showing where the panels will be located. So Chair, that concludes my report. We recommend approval. I do have the other exhibits that were included in the packets should the RC want to go over some of the site plans and other plans that were presented previously.
Thank you, Glenn. I assume the applicant is present. You now have 10 minutes to give us a presentation about your project. Please give us your name.
Jorge Gracia. Jorge Gracia.
Hi, all right.
Hi. So, ready. So first, thanks. We're gonna start. I'll be talking while we show a little video, 1-minute video. I'd like to say that the previous comments made were very helpful for the overall design. We're very happy with the final design. You guys push us a little bit on our envelope, and I think we were able to achieve something that we are very happy with it. So we worked on the ventilation of each of the rooms to have wider windows to be able to have more air ventilation, and also we did a sun study to cover most of the solar gain, the solar that affects basically the main 2 bedrooms, which are the ones that were more critical. The other ones were fine. So in this video, it shows the overall design, how it is right now. The plans actually shows the landscape already that is proposed on the landscape plan. The lighting, it might not be exactly what it is on the lighting plan, but you should have to focus on the lighting plan for that. So we can also show you how the sun goes in the right location, geolocation of the property. If we can open the file, please, so that you can see that in the. So here, if we look, if you see on the right hand side, you'll see a number with the hour for the sun. Right now here is 9 a.m. in the morning. You have a little bit of sun hitting the two main bedrooms, and then when you go up, if you go higher, it's 10 a.m. in the morning, and you already are covered with the shades, the eyebrows that we installed on the main 2 rooms. If you go all the way more, 12. So you have shadow all the house basically. So, and we still have sun on the pool, so that helped a lot. The eyebrows, if you would like to zoom in on the eyebrows, we are thinking of doing those out of metal attached to the structure. We have more air ventilation, circulation on those upper awnings and this on the lower part on this one. And there is a door also on that bedroom. And then on the other bedroom, we have another big sliding, that's a big sliding door that slides to the right. And then on the upper part, we also add some awnings there. On the left-hand side, on the other facade, we also, this one is operable also to have ventilation. That's for a bathroom. And then all the skylights are operable, electric skylights. So you also have ventilation on each of the bathrooms too. On this one, it's a sliding, also half of it opens, and it has also the eyebrows there. So that's basically it. I don't know if there's any questions.
Committee, any questions for the applicant?
And Mr. Chair, I'd just like to acknowledge that Member Dozy has joined us.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Tom. Jorge, I have a couple of questions. I never noticed this and this is the perfect slide to look at. The end of the swimming pool is glass. I just fear that at night it's going to look like a illuminated movie screen if the water in the pool is on, and it might not be pleasant for the neighboring projects to see this bright line. And then the other kind of related question is, it seems to me you need a guardrail on the pool deck on the side closest to the master bedroom, because that's more than 3 feet above deck. So you've got a glass rail shown here on the left side. You're probably going to need a glass rail on the right side too, down at the pool deck, not up at the bedroom deck, but down at the, yeah, right in there.
On that, on the grading plan, it shows less than 3 feet on that.
Okay.
We were able to make it that it's less than 3 feet.
Okay.
On the other one, we'll need to talk to Rich if it's a comment that is, what does he feel about this detail on the pool? I don't know, Rich, do you want to comment on that?
We're not married to that. It was kind of kitschy, and
Yeah.
you know, okay. I'm fine removing it.
I think it would help with the maintenance, because if the water washes over that edge sometime, then the outside of the glass has to be cleaned, and good. But I will say that I think you have all listened really carefully to our comments and have given us a very good presentation in response. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said, we're, you know, that piece was probably going to go away. So
okay. Any more questions from the committee for the applicant?
Well,
John.
Yeah, so I feel bad they gave into that one so quickly, because the glass on the end of the pool. Can you bring up your site plan really quickly?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Jorge, do you want me to do that, or can you do that?
But I don't think we should. Yeah, I have it here. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
How about sheet L 3.0, which is your lighting plan or a landscape plan?
3.0. Oh, I don't have the landscape.
Okay. I can, if you,
Yeah.
I can pull it up, Jorge, if you,
I'll stop sharing.
okay, let me.
Just want to be careful, Tom, about so either L30 or their landscape planting plan. This is fine. That's like a good one. Yep. So are you able to zoom out just a hair? Actually, zoom, yeah, it's fine. Let's just look at that whole sheet really quickly. So, you know, he's got the north arrow, 1 second. This is up, and this is obviously east, and I feel like most of the way that I've got the overall site plan for that project up in front of me here. And it really looks to me like this street kind of continues down this way. Sorry, I'm gonna have that incorrectly. I'm sorry, let me get rid of that. It's this street kind of continues down this way. Do I have that correctly?
City View goes east-west, and then Desert Flower is a cul-de-sac,
Uh-huh. So,
ends there.
so this is the cul-de-sac terminating down here.
Right, let
Yes.
me see if I can get a. There we go.
Yeah, gotcha. So just take a quick look at that, and Tom, if you go back to their landscape plan, there is a tree right there. I feel like the house is simple in design, and I think this is a house for speculation. I'm not sure. I don't want to. I'm gun shy about telling them to take a really cool feature out of there.
Mhm. Well, I agree that it's a very cool feature. It's very unique. I mean, I've seen them sometimes when I've been traveling, and it's a real eye catcher. But I mean, even the maintenance of this entire pool is going to be very difficult, because you need to have a poolman that can walk on that 1 foot wide edge around the sides of the pool. It just,
Can I interject something?
sure.
But I think the way that Sean's kind of right, but between the tree and the way the house is angled, I don't know how many people are going to be affected by that light of the pool, and maintenance of the tile, given the water out here, is going to be just as difficult as the glass.
Yeah, which, if you look at their sheet A100, it looks like that Desert Flower just kind of comes to a hammerhead right below the lot. So it wouldn't affect anybody on the street. It would really only affect the one lot to the south, kind of southwest, right where Fear or where Sandboard Stamp is. If there was a house in there.
There is already a wall there for a neighbor. The house is not facing that way, that house.
Okay, well then I'd be willing to just let the client make the decision on that. I don't think we have to ask them to take it out, the glass at the pool.
Mhm.
I have another question
Yeah,
about,
Dan.
about the solar. Have you considered skirting the solar at all? Just because there's so many homes will be looking kind of over the roof line of this, it'd just be a little cleaner.
What's the question?
If you would skirt the solar panels, it just look a little cleaner when they're skirted.
What do you mean skirted?
Where the jacks come up off of the roof where the solar system is, they can put a skirt that goes around it to kind of hide the jacks where they stand. So it looks a little flush, a little more, it just looks a lot cleaner that way.
We have only like 5% of that's the slope. And actually from the street, the videos that we show, if you go to the street, it's hard to really see. If you go up, maybe go a little bit up there.
I'm thinking from the people who are higher up on the mountain looking down on top of the house, they see underneath some of those panels depending on where they are.
Okay.
It's not a big deal. I'm just asking if you'd considered it.
Well,
No,
the panels are going to be, we're going to try and place them, as a low degree as possible. It's not really, unfortunately, it's not really up to us.
Well, no, I get that, but even the panels that are angled, sometimes they'll put a skirt around them just to make so you don't see all the little legs that they stand up on.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's not the pitch of the roof I'm asking you about. It's the hiding the spigots that hold the top of the panels up.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. We'll definitely look into that. That's a good call.
Yeah, it makes it look like they're in a box.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's a good call.
Okay.
And another, oh, Dan, anything else?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
I also, I like the eyebrows that you put around the window, but I'm just wondering, did you ever consider putting a bottom on that so that they become a complete unit instead of the legs just hanging in the air as they cantilever off the ends of the building?
Oh, actually, we like to always try to not use elements decoratively, and that won't function because it will shade down. So it's more like we only are using the ones, actually, we put only the ones we needed per the sun study. So it's more like a perspective as architects to build only what it's needed, nothing decorative.
Okay. Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Do we have any public comments from the audience? You can identify yourself and you'd have 3 minutes. Okay, I don't see any, so we will conclude the public comment item, and obviously no need for rebuttal since there were no comments. Committee, let's discuss.
Yeah, I just realized I had one more question. I wonder
Sure.
what the roof color is. It's just called out as on their legend as doesn't show a color. I think it's
Jorge?
I thought it would be like a taupe color to,
Oh.
I didn't want to do white, so I thought we'd do taupe.
Fiber Bright has a nice gray that would go well with your black boards.
Yeah, I'm open.
Any other discussion? Well, like I said before, I think they've responded very well to the comments we made last time. I think the window surrounds add a little extra oomph to the elevations. And it's a unique house in a unique neighborhood. So I think it's a success.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Any comments? Do we have a motion?
Can make a motion.
Dan,
I'll make a motion to approve, subject to the roof color be a gray or taupe, and that they can consider skirting the solar system.
okay, do we have a second to that?
Can I amend that and make that a requirement on the back side, whatever the upslope side of that is, that it gets some type of brake metal skirt on that back side?
Yes.
Okay, Dan has accepted that amendment. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Tom Dosey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, we will move now to new business. Item number 3, Walmart Stores LLC for a major architectural application for the development of a fuel station and convenience store located at 5601 East Ramon Road. Could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, 1 second. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
If you want to watch.
All right, so Walmart is back again, this time with a different proposal. They are continuing to do their 16-pump fuel station within the Destination Ramon Shopping Center near the corner of Ramon and Crossley Road, adjacent to the existing Walmart Supercenter. So they are, again, continuing their 16-pump fuel station. This time, though, instead of the kiosk, they are proposing a 1,440 square foot convenience store towards the south of their proposed site. With adequate parking, they are still proposing underground fuel stations. However, this is now located towards the east of the project site and a trash enclosure towards the north of the project site. Just for some clarification, vehicles, especially the fuel trucks, would be entering via this entrance, coming up and entering the project site through here, dropping the fuel down below and then exiting. And then just normal customers and patrons of this site can enter and exit the store, the project site via these two access points. However, this north access point is exit only. So when they exit, they only have one option, and that is to go right to avoid traffic buildup. Here's an up close photo of the trash enclosure. They are proposing 8-inch CMU block walls with, their typical metal gate and wooden pergola. This is the proposed convenience store. It's going to resemble the existing Walmart. It's got the orange finished stucco, the tan stucco with CMU block walls and cobbled brown panels at the bottom. The height of the convenience store ranges between 14 and 16 feet. And, they're going to sell typical convenience store type gas station food, as well as they are going to they are requesting a type 20 liquor license. This is just an insight of what the floor plan looks like. As for the canopy, it's going to be your typical gas station canopy, painted white with some gray accent arrows and the Walmart logo with the Walmart blue. Here's a photo of it standing from, I would say, the sidewalk area off Crossley Road. And again, a little further back, so on the street of Crossley. They are going to maintain most of the landscape. However, they are proposing additional landscape to kind of screen the area down Crossley Road. And you can see a lot of the plants that they are proposing are going to be desert appropriate plants. They are also incorporating a 3-foot high berm along Crossley Road for a small portion of that to screen like vehicle lights that might pour off the project site. So there's going to be 7 proposed new light poles within this area. And as far as the canopy lighting, you can see it on the bottom right. It's just your typical like LED canopy lighting. They are proposing changes to the sign as was discussed like the very first time we had this ARC meeting. But that would be handled via sign amendment to the existing sign program. So staff recommends approval subject to the attached conditions of approval, and the applicant is available to answer any questions. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Committee, any questions of staff?
I do.
John?
What's the height of the proposed lights? Can you go back to that diagram? Because it's super vague. Where are the existing light posts, or the proposed light posts going? Those are the big, on your right-hand side, the large ones?
Yeah, 15 feet.
And how tall are the existing ones on site?
I do not know that.
Do these match the other ones on site?
No, I was out at the site today and looked, and they do not look like the cut sheet that they have in the drawings here.
There's a lot of trees called out on the landscape plan also that are existing, but I don't know what they are. It just says just existing tree to be removed, existing tree to remain. Wondering what they are.
Well, right. We can ask the applicant that.
What kind of wood is going on there? People back to that trash enclosure? You said there's a wood pergola. Kind of wood.
So the applicant just stated it's a wooden pergola painted to match the brown kiosk. Not a kiosk, it's the convenience store now.
So did you say painted?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Is it brown or is it tan? Because the building looks tan.
there are two colors on the convenience store. So I would say it would be the darker of the brown.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Alex, I kind of feel that this is not a complete application or submittal because on the canopy, they've given no dimensions for the height of the building. So we don't know the height of the bottom of the canopy from the ground, and we don't know the top of the parapet height. Also, they didn't give us any roof plan of either of the buildings so that we can see what's happening on the roof. And there is an indication when you look at the elevations of the convenience store of something on the roof, but we really don't know where it is. And then finally, on the drainage for the roof, they show a continuous gutter mounted to the building along one of the side elevations with downspouts coming exposed on the exterior of the wall. And I just want to, it's unclear as to if that's truly how they're going to drain the roof or if they're going to have roof drains. So there's a lot of information missing.
Mhm.
Can I throw one more out there, but you're just gonna build on that a little bit, Tom?
Sure.
Alex, if you go to one of their renderings, it looks like it's called sheet number, there you go, 2. Like the building it's not the prettiest building in the world. And I wonder if there's something that can be done to add landscape tight up to the building. So like a planter and more, I'm just gonna do a super half-ass sketch here. Like, can that be a planter? Can this be a planter and get something with a canopy up here and something here is similar to on this side with some types of planting that can kind of help allow the landscape to beautify this a bit. Kind of question mark, but it would be nice if when they come back with a more thorough presentation of some of this, if this were addressed. This is a lot of what I call just this hard on hard surfaces
Mhm.
that feel hot, look hot, and don't help a building that is kind of a plain stucco box with gutters and mechanical equipment on top of it. The other item is like, what is this? And what's it made out of?
I'm sorry, you're talking about the Walmart logo or the?
Yeah, like is they just gonna paint a big square of blue on the top of that stucco there?
That's my understanding of the logo, yes.
This feels like something.
Yeah, Sean, I'm agreeing that it's just too plain of a stucco box. If you look at the existing Walmart building, it does have the CMU kind of wainscot coming up about 3 feet, but then on their large plastered masses, they're divided with a pattern of screeds, fry metal, and also they have accent pop-outs that are wrapped in a split stone that go up to the top of the building. So you're adding a different material and adding a different depth to the building. I think something like that would go a long, long way to making this one tie into the existing building much more closely and give a little more interest to this.
Can is there any way I can share a screen for just a quick second?
Yeah, do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah. It's just a quick
Yeah.
street here, but is this what you're?
Yeah, exactly. Those, yep.
This has some interest to it.
Well, also, Sean, drag your cursor back up to where you see the Walmart sign on the wall. See how it's linear rather than horizontal, like they have it with just a big blue square. That big blue square kind of bothered me, so I went and looked up all their other convenience gas station stores that they have, and they don't have just that painted blue square with that logo on it. It's more spelled out linear like that, which I think looks better than just the way it's plopped on the side of this proposed convenience store.
Mhm.
And this shows how they broke up the plaster with the.
It looks like, yeah, okay, well, I don't want to keep cutting on it, but I feel like this went through somewhat of a rigorous process to get to this point, and it feels like if they'd like to do an addition there and on the property, then there should be some enhancements, or at least keeping within the same language and integrity of this design. Which, not that this is the most beautiful thing in the world, but this looks like it's got some articulation to it. The other, I'm just going to stop sharing. Sorry, you can go back to your presentation now.
Yeah, I would just recommend that we move on to, or we keep this to questions and let the applicant answer some of these questions if staff is unable to do so, and then we can get into the specifics of design changes.
Sure, David. Any more questions from the committee for the applicant? Okay, let's have the applicant please give us a presentation. You have 10 minutes. Give us your name, and then you may give us a run through.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Alvarez with Kinley Horn Associates. We are the civil consultant. We also have our architecture team available to add some further description to the architectural design. I guess kind of the first kind of background on the project. So this is kind of Walmart's prototypical design for their fuel stations with their kind of two options of the building that we have. They have chosen to come back with the larger footprint here with 1440 square foot building in order to kind of address some of the previous concerns from this fuel station site. We're happy to kind of provide some further details on the existing landscaping and trees that are out there. I know we are showing on our landscape plan for that east side of the building, bringing the landscaping up closer to that side of the building with just a small kind of 5-foot walkway along there, and providing some further shade along the frontage to break up that I'll kind of use your guys' term, the hard on hard features there for the site. And in terms of the color and elevations, we can just make sure that those dimensioned elevations get to all of city staff, as we do have elevations available providing those further dimensions. Heath or Lauren, I know you guys are on. If you guys want to answer any specific or give further specifics to the colors and materials for the site, please feel free to jump in. But thank you guys for your time tonight and reviewing our project. Much appreciated.
Okay, committee members, questions for the applicant? I have a couple of oh, Dan, go ahead.
Hey, Ryan, I just have a question. On the utility enclosure, you spec chain link fence. Can you do something better than a chain link fence? Maybe some of the metal that matches around the trash enclosure instead?
Yes, we can definitely look into that and provide different materials there.
Thank you.
Could we see the site plan, please? My question is, if there's two cars parked at a gas pump and a third or fourth comes, they're going to be behind those cars stacking up into that driving lane, backed up towards the convenience store. And there's almost always at least one or two cars waiting. I don't think that 35.5 feet is enough to have queuing space without totally blocking the circulation to get around to be able to use the exits. Now, it looks to me like there's a lot of land below this building. Is it possible that this could be brought further to the, I guess it would be south, so that that 35-foot dimension could be increased, especially if a fuel truck is parked filling the tanks? I think the circulation again is really kind of questionable.
Yeah, to address that kind of circulation concern, the fuel pumps can be accessed from either direction. They are not meant to be queued in one single direction. It's more to be utilized as kind of your neighborhood fuel station. We have run those circulation studies to show passenger cars at the tanks while also having the truck delivery come in, and just making sure that each person using the fuel station is in kind of a safe spot with the fuel truck moving around, and have been able to kind of meet the city code requirements for that access, and provide that each kind of car and pump can be safely utilized with each of those. But yeah, I would say queuing will not happen just directly in one direction. It can be spread out and accessed from either side of the fueling area.
And Ryan, while we're looking at this drawing, what's the hatched area up towards the upper right corner of the paved area?
So there's an air and water station up there. So we wanted to provide an area for cars to kind of pull off away from some of the other traffic, and whether it's pumping up their airs or refilling the windshield wiper water in their car, they're able to utilize that area up there.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Sean?
Yeah. Can you go to the lighting plan? Why do you need all that lighting? And I might ask that in two parts. Why do you need all that freestanding lighting? And I suppose this probably has building lights that may not be shown on here, but like there's a whole lot of ceiling lights up there. Feels like maybe you could use about 25% of that. It's bright.
Yeah, so we do have to provide the kind of photometric study and kind of in the foot candles, and it has to meet the city required code. So that is the kind of what's shown on here needed to meet those requirements. And it does get plan checked by city staff later on down the line to make sure that that code is being met and we are not exceeding it or underneath it for safety reasons.
And kind of related to Sean's question, why does the canopy need to be so tall? If the canopy were shorter, I would think you would also need fewer lights, or you wouldn't see the lights from outside of the property so much.
Can we go to that rendering that showed all those lights on it?
Yeah, there's more lights on the render than are on their lighting plan. So I was just looking at that.
Ryan, is there a reason that the bottom level of the canopy has to be so far off the ground?
I think they've done, sorry, I don't think, Walmart has done studies to see what types of vehicles will be accessing it. So if an RV or a vehicle of that sort wanted to come in and utilize the fuel station, they do need to provide the proper clearance for those vehicles, which would kind of be the starting point for determining the required height at their fuel stations.
I'm not really seeing a height of the canopy anywhere in the plans.
Yeah, it's not shown.
Yeah, it is. This is
So-
Heath Connell with WD. It is 14 feet to the bottom of the canopy there.
Okay.
And then the thickness of the canopy? What's
3
the-
foot. 3'8".
Oh, there we go.
This is something that, sorry, I'm jumping in, but this was something that was provided to Planning Commission, and when they revised the packet, it wasn't in your ARC packet, so I'm providing it here.
So are they gonna have those big price numbers up there on the canopy?
No,
I'm sorry, what was the answer?
no, Walmart will not be pursuing the canopy mounted fuel readers.
Okay,
And what is the reasoning behind changing the color scheme between the existing Walmart, the convenience store, and then the canopy, which is kind of a completely different color scheme?
So that is part of what they call their swipe up branding. They just wanted to keep that branding at least as true. That's what they're trying to roll out across the nation, is just sort of consistent, grab your attention with the Walmart blue, and then the arrows are supposed to guide you to the entry as well.
do we have any more questions from the committee for the candidate? Because now is a time for public comments. Do we have anybody from the public who would like to comment? You would have 3 minutes. Okay, seeing none, let's have committee discussion. Well, I'd like to bring
I'll
the.
go ahead and start.
Okay, go ahead. Was that Tom Dosey?
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with the comments that were made about the facade of the building. I think there's opportunities to give some relief and depth and shadow lines. Even, we've seen before where they've done the blacked out pane of glass, even though it's storefront and they have to do storage behind it, but it just seems like there's a lot of hard surface there that needs to be mitigated. But the other comment I have is I would like to see the landscape wrap all the way around the building. Call out on the landscape plan that there is some existing material, but there is nothing that actually would go behind the building. So I feel that the landscape plan encompass the whole building on all 4 sides.
Thank you, Tom. In the Planning Commission's review of this, they had 3 specific items that they asked the ARC to review, and one was the lighting, especially under the canopy. One is to consider additional trees every 15 feet along Crosley Road. And the final one was to encourage additional shading on the front of the building over the sidewalk area. And I think we hit on all 3 of those topics, without even needing their prompting. Unfortunately, this is probably shooting them in the foot if it is showing more lighting than is actually going to be there. So I think the submittal package should be reviewed to be more completely precise with what they're going to plan. I think they need to call out all the materials more clearly. And I think the photos that Sean had of the existing Walmart store tell a wonderful story of how the facade of this needs to have some more depth and texture to it and tie in better to the existing building. Any other committee comments?
I'd like to see some code that says that all those lights and those foot candles are required to justify that many lights. I realize I'm talking about the plan, not the rendering here. But still seems kind of ridiculous to light every inch of that place up with like 30-some foot candles. And the fact that the lights don't match what's existing out there on site, or that they even have to be 15 feet tall, just feels weird. Like, why don't they match? If they're not going to match, why do they need to be that tall? Giant. And why do we really need that many of those lights all around that whole site? Like, I don't really want to be drawn to this area when I enter town from along Ramon Road or anywhere else. It just feels like it could and should be more subtle.
Thank you, John. Steve, anything?
No, I just think the grab and go building is a bit uninspired. So I agree with the comments of doing something to make it pop a little bit more.
Thank you. Dan, any other comments?
No, pretty much the same comments that's already been made.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to continue the project with the comments that have been noted.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to item number 4, John Gunn and Craig Hibbard, owners for a major architectural application for the construction of a 5,264 square foot, 2-story, single-family residence on a hillside lot located at 110 Ridge Mountain Drive. Could we have a staff report, please?
Yes. So the applicant is proposing a 5,200 square foot house on a hillside lot. The lot is surrounded by some development and some vacant lots towards the northwest and the south of the side of the project site. There is a existing single family residence across the street and multiple single family residences towards the east of the project site at the base of the hill. The lot is 2.43 acres in size and is considered an irregular shaped lot. Here's a view of the site plan. The proposed site plan, the house sits as close to Mountain Ridge Road as the natural topography and setbacks allow. So the project site has existing grading and retaining walls in place. This was part of an approval back in 2004 that was never fully completed. The architect will be integrating some of these retaining walls into their new proposal. However, the existing steel columns that you see at the bottom of the screen, pad footings, some concrete forms, and the rebar will be demolished completely for this new proposal. So here's the site plan, a closer image of the site plan. You've got, the carport facing the front. You've got a detached 2-car garage off to the side. And you've got a multi-leveled single family residence. So the image on the left is the main level. It's going to consist of the entryway, the foyer, the lounge and office, and the main master suite. And then the image on the right will consist of your main living area. So the powder room, kitchen, laundry room, dining area, and living room, as well as it will have access to the backyard, pool, and spa. Here's the proposed elevations. In this elevation at the top specifically, you can see how far the main level sits from the top of the street. Here's your south and west elevations. And the west elevation is your front elevation. So this is the view from Ridge Mountain Road. Guest bedroom elevations. And renderings. So this is the view that faces east. It is going to be the view that the majority of the homes are going to see. However, there is proposed landscaping that will shield this view from the public, or not the public, from the adjacent properties. And then here's a bird's eye perspective view. Additional one from the south. I'm sorry, from the west. So there is a grade difference of about 13 feet from the top of the street to the entrance of the carport. The house is going to consist of various types of grays and whites. They've got indigo crushed stone chips with pebble for ground cover, and plastered wall finishes, stone veneer finishes, a plaster ceiling finish and wood panel ceilings on the exterior of the patio area, and single ply roofing in the color gray. The applicant has provided two sections. This first one is section AA, which is taken from east to west. You've got this dotted line here at the bottom, which shows the existing grade. And then you've got this slightly larger dotted line at the top, which shows the maximum height that the development standard allows for this zone. They are asking for an AMM, so they're asking to deviate from that slightly to do a small addition to exceed the 18-foot height requirement. So the max height is going to be 22 feet. And then you can see way down here, this is the level of the homes to the east. This is another section taken from slightly different angle, and their proposed landscape plan. So their landscape plan consists of desert appropriate landscape as well as trees, 48-inch box trees that will be located to not only provide privacy for the residents of this proposed home, but also the residents to the east as well. Concludes my report, and the applicant is available for any questions.
Thank you, Alex. Do we have any of the committee members have questions for staff?
Chair Jake, I would also just note that staff did receive 2 public comments on this item. Those were provided to the committee this morning. Those were received after the agenda was published. So I just wanted to make the members of the public aware who sent those in, if they are here tonight, that they were forwarded to the ARC for consideration.
Yes, and both of those comments were from people who live immediately adjacent to the site who were concerned about screening, and they were in favor of the Palo Verde Museum, Palo Verde's, that the applicant is proposing to create that privacy between the two properties. The applicant, you have 10 minutes. Please give us your name and a presentation of your project.
Good evening, Chair Jakeway and review committee members. I'm Lance O'Donnell with O2 Architecture. First thing I want to do is just look at, if I can share my screen, just look at an aerial simulation that we did, just to get the sight lines of all the neighbors around. And let me know if you can see this. Can you guys see this?
Yes.
All right, let me try to enlarge it so it's a little clearer. So our site, our underlying site here is in this light transparent red. And our home our proposed home is located here. The existing homes that are currently built, the ERYC home is here. They're about 24 feet above our finished floor, and we're about 24 feet above the finished floor of the homes in this development down below. So what you see is a series of triangles here, which are showing sight lines from our photo simulation. And the ones that are most relevant are the ones between our proposed design and the homeowners below it. And let me just say that our client reached out to all the homeowners, went door to door a few times, and was fortunate enough to catch some of the primary homeowners. And the result of that was, I believe, the letters the city received. So the outreach was initiated by our client, and their comments were based upon us sharing design ideas with them early on, and then the city doing its due diligence and sharing the full application with the homeowners. So the first photo that I'll show is from entering the development down below, and this is a photo through their entry gate. So upon entering their development, there's a pool to my right. There's up above what you can see. Let's see if I can see my cursor. Can you guys see my cursor floating around?
Yep.
Okay. In the center here is our proposed home. In the background is a Corten steel element, which is the existing home that's already up there. So you see that the 24-foot stepping of finished floor within this development to our finished floor to the home that's already in the Ridge Mountain development has this cascade of massing taking place. In the foreground between the existing homes and our proposed homes, you see a translucent green, and that's just our simulation of the Palo Verdes. Our client's intent is to have to be a great neighbor and to have good privacy for them and for the neighbors. So the 24-inch box Palo Verdes, we're spacing them at 20 foot on center, and we can get those planted as soon as we start mobilizing for construction and get those watered, so that by the time the construction finishes, we have a good barrier between the two projects. So this is entering the development. This is from the community pool, which is slightly to the north of that last photo and slightly west. So here you see again the trees that we're proposing to plant. The glass is as much as we can. We're trying to screen that, and obviously these are trees, so it will be based on maintenance and just you know, our intent to keep healthy trees and have that barrier. Well, not so much a barrier, but just have a nice green leafy transition between this development and our proposed home. And then beyond that, we see the Corten steel of the other home, and then the hillside. This is probably the most impacted pool that sees, you know, our design and our home. Unfortunately, these guys have been living with, depending upon the ownership, they've been living with an unsightly view up to the closest thing we have to Roman ruins in Palm Springs since 2006. And so the home intends to keep the existing retaining wall. It's 11 foot 6 feet high. It's 12 inches thick. It over these intervening 16 years, there's been no water that has come through the wall. The wall we've had structurally analyzed. So we're going to fully utilize the existing retaining wall. And as Alex mentioned, all of the steel columns that were placed for the previously proposed home are being removed. So this shows our Palo Verde trees at the condition where from this pool deck, this is a private pool on one of the homes. This is what they're going to see. So again, we're trying to be mindful of sight lines. Our home, the design of our home, site planning, was to orient the big views of the home as far up into Palm Canyon as possible. So these are actually facing south. So the large bar is facing south. Those windows are facing south. On the opposite side, they're facing north. And then with the guest casita here, there is one bedroom in the guest casita that's facing this pool, which is facing east. The other guest casita is also facing south. The next view is just back from that previous view. The previous view was taken just underneath or above that blue umbrella. Now this is back in the kind of common area of the development. So again, sight lines between this development and our home, proposed home. And then if we go up above, we can see, so we've simulated our design in the center of the home. There's a little green swath between us and the neighborhood, but it was more just to show context. So the context, these two developments, while they share a common property line, we're some 65 or 70 feet away from these existing homes. So there's a bit of distance, but there is some height. So there's 24 feet that we're trying to screen out from the development below. Again, this is taken a little further from the north. This is a large parcel, over 2 acres. Most of it will remain undeveloped. And as I said, the utilization and incorporation of that existing retaining wall is the starting point for our design. So even further north, slightly west. And then this is a view from far up above on the development site, looking back down at the 2 existing homes. 2 homes have been graded, and obviously this site that we have the fortune of working on has just been sitting idle for so many years. So we're really looking forward to working closely with the committee here and getting this home approved. Let me just share one other set of documents and just kind of talk you through the overall design of the project. So if we look at the existing site plan, this is the existing retaining wall. So it's over 100 feet long. As I said, it's 11'6" high. It's 12 inches.
We're only seeing the aerial. The aerial.
Yeah. And do you see my cursor moving?
No.
We see slide 12, Google Earth overlay perspective vignette.
Okay, it says my screen had stopped. Sure. Can you see this now?
There you go.
David, thank you for mentioning that you weren't seeing what I was talking about. So this is the existing retaining wall, over 100 feet long, 11'6" high, 12 inches thick, poured in place. It's not the most beautiful wall in the world. So for most of the wall, we are incorporating it into our design. The design proposes to have the 2 bars floating off of this wall. We're ledgering into the wall, so we're not building on top of the wall. So our finished floor is going to be at the top of the wall. I move to the next sheet. So this is the existing home that was getting demoed. There's the wall here that remains. This bar with the 2-story element, living, dining, entertainment below, pool is encapsulated here, and then the guest casita is here. So both of those are perpendicular to the
Come in
existing
there and
wall.
show us where that you're incorporating those retaining walls. It's really super difficult to see.
Okay. Just grab a tool here. A little drawing. So that existing retaining wall is you guys see this red line?
Yeah.
That existing retaining wall does this. Right, so that's how it's getting incorporated in the design. So this bar here is ledgered into that retaining wall. The carport sits on the other side of that retaining wall. The 2-story entry tower is here. There is a court that is left by the void that's created between the masses that we're proposing. So there's a void right in here that we're planning on planting trees. So we're pulling, now my line didn't exactly follow that. Didn't exactly follow, but that retaining wall does this. I apologize. So it wraps around here, comes back up, and then extends over. So in this area here, we're leaving that as a void. So the entry tower is here. the larger bars here perpendicular to the existing wall, and then the guest house is here perpendicular to this portion of the wall. Landscape plan again, the Palo Verde 48-inch box located at 20 feet on center down here. We have citrus trees down below the home, out adjacent to some existing rock boulders that were stacked. And then our outdoor living pool exists here. The other side is a kind of a passive courtyard in the outdoor space here and a detached garage, which is at the bottom of the motor court. This is really, it's a roof house from Ridge Mountain. It's seen as a roof house. So we've organized the solar panels in a way that they've been placed in a designed, just get to that sheet. So the solar panels here are placed in a way that they're in their own three-dimensional mass, which then becomes the carport. Right, so that's with somebody standing on the street, they're about 6 feet above the roof. So we want to make sure that the roof is a really well organized set of systems. And then the other thing that we realize is that approaching the home is one of continual ramping and driveways. So the entry to the home again is through the stair tower here. This is the court with the trees coming up through with the existing retaining wall wrapping around it. And the home acting as more or less a private shield to Ridge Mountain. And then the protective layers downhill to screen from the neighbors. But that pretty much completes the overall ideas and concept for the design, and I'm happy to take any questions the committee has.
Thanks, Lance. Committee members, any questions for the applicant? Sean?
Yeah, can you pull up the site plan, the overall that shows the proposed trees along your northern, I guess, border along between you and the neighboring development? Site plan or okay. It's fine. Can we zoom in just a little bit so we can see those trees? And my question, Lance, would be why? First, let me make a statement. To me, it feels very unnatural the way they look in the renderings and the way they look on the plan. And I wonder if that only shows 5 of them, but I think there's about 14.
Yeah, they continue off to the south.
Yeah, let's look at the site plan where there's all of them, even if it's fuzzy. There was one that it's kind of shown on a grading plan where there's a swale just to the south of them.
Yeah, so this is showing the extent north and south of those trees. And then the pool that the photo simulation was from was just immediately to the east of these trees. And then as one goes further to the south, the homes that are further south, other than the 2 that are most proximate to our site.
So your
looking in a different direction.
0.3 covers it pretty well. Are you able to go to that one? It kind of outlines that retention basin there also.
John, what was that page number again?
A 0.3. It's a preliminary grading plan. it just seems like there's this wild landscape here, and yet there's this really strong lineal line here where there's like, wouldn't this do the trick? And even minimize the amount of potential trees there, as long as these were still doing their job from this sort of thing, but also providing a more natural looking landscape rather than this really hard, rigid line. It just feels like a big hedge above their property.
Yeah, you know, Sean, that's not a bad point. We could, you know, working with staff, we could work on a revision that shows how the trees could be moved upslope and some kept downslope while still maintaining the privacy that I think the neighbors and our client are both searching for.
Cool.
So Lance, it looks like there's an existing water storage there that's 1 foot deep and you're enlarging it to make it 3 foot deep. Is that correct?
You know, I'm not totally certain on how deep it is currently. I know over time it's silted up a little bit. We've had some, you know, decent rains in the intervening 16, 17 years since that thing was dug. So we're just going off of the hydrology study and showing the detention area that would be needed. But yeah, most of it has already been graded, and it's probably just a matter of cleaning out what was there before. What we did is before starting, we had an engineer go out and do fly a new topo. So what the data that we got did show that basin was filled in just through nuisance water and silting up over the years.
Because I would think if you were taking this land without the existing stuff, that whole basin could slide to the north quite a bit and be in kind of that natural lower spot towards the upper left corner of the lot. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, it's already carved out. So, you know, we're going to do our best to renaturalize this whole area.
Sean, did you have anything else for Lance?
I didn't. I'm just trying to get some height, see what those trees are going to be doing, but I'm just looking at your finished pad slab, what your datums are down there, contours. Looks like it could play with height a little bit without blocking your view so much, I think.
Yeah, I don't know that we're so concerned about seeing blue tile roofs. So we're you know, we want to be good neighbors. It's really just sight lines in the windows from below. But there's a really great view to South Ridge. There's a really great view up Palm Canyon to Santa Rosa. So there's just some wonderful views that are afforded by being up where we are.
Lance, I had a conceptual question. Why is the garage sited so far from the house? Is there an opportunity to make it a little more convenient to the house, or did you want to try to make it go away?
Yeah, we wanted to make it go away. It's going to be likely just used as a hobby shop and maybe an antique car or something. Most of the daily trips and cars will be parked in the carport, which is just very convenient. So having a mass that bookended our second court was, in addition to just having some distance from any activity that might be going on out and over there, it was just to try to define that area as in this very large piece of property. So yeah, the further away, the better. Plus there was kind of a flat area over there that was tucked up against the hill, and we wouldn't have to, you know, push out into an area where it would just be more visible. And
Lance, I have to tell you that it it took a lot of concentration to really discover all the unique things you have on this project. It's really interesting. I love that 2-story light well next adjacent to the carport that brings light into that stairwell area, the big covered area underneath the guest bedrooms to create that outdoor space. Just fascinating, really nice stuff.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee for the applicant?
I have a question.
Dan.
Hey, Lance, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, thanks.
Just a question on that motor court. Is that adequate space to be able to back a car up and turn around and drive up that driveway? Because it's a pretty sloped driveway, so they're not going to be able to back out. They're obviously going to need to turn around. Is that enough space?
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a little bit of modification in there to the contours. And obviously we've had a quick little conversation with fire and we think we're good with them pulling hoses from above and not needing to go down to the main level. So yeah, we got head clearances that we feel are adequate. And we've got some good hammerheading, maneuvering area in there. At the end of the day, we're hoping to not pour a bunch of concrete out here for a driveway. But again, it's bedrock. So it is a little bit unruly at the moment. So where it exactly goes to, we'll determine that as we get through the construction documents. But yeah, we do have enough maneuvering and we're going to have to do a little bit of cleanup of the edge of that hillside there.
Okay, and can you go to slide or sheet A 2.2? Overall, I think it's a really great house. I think it looks awesome. My question or concern is that from on this sheet here, when you pull into that carport, you see the chimney flue there, and it kind of looks like just a pipe coming out of the house. Could it be something different, maybe a little more angular that would match the house and more rectangular in shape rather than just a round tube coming out of the top? Because it looks kind of odd to me just sticking up right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a valid comment. One thing we were concerned with is if we try to go to an all-electric home where we're generating enough power to charge to California future electric cars, that we've got enough roof area here in that well-designed portion of the home. So we were trying to keep this, I'll call it a sundial, that's sticking up as small as possible, because we may at some point need to add solar panels that would otherwise be shaded on the back side of that thing. So we're trying to do it as a minimal design concept rather than trying to over embellish it. But what we're doing right now is we have the spark arrestor covered with just a clean metal pipe that would cover the spark arrestor and just look innocuous.
All right, thank you.
One thing I didn't see on the plan was, are there any kind of fencing around the property at all? I didn't see anything that I could find. And is it required in any way?
We do have a 6-foot fence between us and the immediate neighbors to the east. So they have a development wall that extends all the way down the length of that eastern boundary. And then Ridge Mountain is a gated small development that from home to home, I'm not aware of any fencing or any immediate fencing around pools. That may come up as we go through the process with regards to pool safety, but beyond that, we're going to try to minimize any 3-foot grade differences by utilizing existing boulders where we may have something that's 4 feet or 4.6. Just start to renaturalize with some of the existing boulders that are there on site, and do as much as we can without guardrails, fencing, and other things that might detract from kind of this larger natural setting with this kind of wonderful little mountain that's popping up right adjacent to the home.
Any other questions from the committee for the applicant? At this point, we can take public comments. If there is anybody from the audience who would like to make a comment, and noting that we did receive those 2 comments via email, but if anybody wants to speak to the committee, you would have 3 minutes. Okay, I think then we can move to our committee discussion. Comments from the committee.
I'll go first. I think it's a really nice looking project, and it certainly improves the eyesore that's been there for as long as I've lived in Palm Springs. The only thing my concern is what I brought up to Lance is the chimney flue looks a little innocuous sticking up from that perspective. I understand his point, but I think it kind of takes away from the house a little bit.
Thank you.
I'll just make a quick comment.
Yes, Dusty.
I appreciate the presentation that Lance put together for us here. And in terms of the landscape, I agree with Sean. If we could just see more of a blending or transition from the natural landscape where there might be nothing but the native plant material to the landscaped areas that are proposed, I think that would create a nicer environment and still achieve the screening effect that they're trying to get for the neighbors as well. I guess, and the other comment would be that they restore any, I was trying to go through the grading plan to see what areas, how much disturbance would occur, especially bringing the driveway down to that external garage. And so those slopes be, renaturalized with Permian or other materials to make it blend with natural terrain as much as possible.
And to play off your comments, Tom, I'm wondering if the trees along the eastern property boundary should be on the uphill side of that water retention basin, so that one, it would screen the basin from your clients, and by moving those trees slightly up on the slope, it would even screen the house a little bit more for the people below, and it would screen their roofs from you.
But I think with this contours that might, if you put all of them there, I think they're gonna end up being lined up again.
Right, okay, we'll put it on both sides.
Staggered and.
Yeah, and I think even unless it's a view situation, but from the renderings, it looked like it's a blank wall, just where the equipment area is below the upper level. That appeared to be a blank wall in that direction, and some of the plant material could move further to the north to kind of soften that blank wall of the structure.
I've got it's like kind of a comment or a question. How the Mexican fan palms you have proposed, are there any that are native there on site now? Because it feels a little odd for the neighborhood, and I'm wondering if they're really necessary for that species, or could it be something else that looks and feels a bit more native to that landscape?
Yeah, so down below, if I may, there are the Mexican fan palms mixed in with California fan palms, and the two that are at the end of the pool, they're also, they're close to where the hill starts going back up. So there's an existing retaining wall that ends there.
What I didn't hear that, Lance.
So there's an existing retaining wall separate from the 11'6" retaining wall that comes out along the base of the hill. The two at the end of the pool, the two palms shown at the end of the pool, are anchoring the end of that existing wall. So there's a little bit of renaturalization that's going on in there. I would say that the other two on the other side maybe are a little bit disconnected from anything, and we'd be happy to restudy, yeah, locating those somewhere where they're a little more nestled up against the massing and you know, creating that feel that I think Palms do such a great job.
Okay. That's all. Oh,
Thank you.
roof color. What is your roof color?
It's a gray, you know, which will quickly again become the color of the blow sand that's out there. So
Yeah.
it'll be a great tan.
Thank you.
Any other comments from committee? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, Dan.
I'll make a motion to approve subject to landscape revisions as suggested by both Tom and Sean.
Do we have a second?
I will.
Second by Sean. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. Landscape project. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we can move. I'm sorry.
Can we take a 4.5 minute recess?
I'll give you 5.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we're ready.
Thank you. We are back to new business. Item number 5. Kim and Mark Dempster, owners for a major architectural application for the construction of a 1,350 square foot accessory building to the main house on a hillside lot located at 1900 South Camino, Monte. Could we have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. As you mentioned, this house is owned by, or property is owned by Kim and Mark Dempster. To orient everyone where this property is located, it's in the Mesa section of the city at the top of Camino El Torres that turns into Camino Monte, which is the short little street here. The Dempsters currently own and this property here in 1951 Camino Monte, and they also own this vacant lot, which is in the red triangle or box here. Previously, a house was approved on this lot back in 2017, and there's a drawing of it in your package we'll get to in just a little bit, but to orient everyone as to what the proposal is they are proposing to build an accessory structure to the main house, 1,350 square feet, consisting of 3 cubes, 450 square feet each. As you saw in that aerial photograph, the red box is around this pink lot here. The Dempster house is in the purple. And in order to build the accessory structures, they will need to merge the lots, which is one of the conditions of approval, that it become one overall large lot. So the house will remain as the primary residence, and then the accessory structures will contain a gym and then 2 other bedrooms. This is a 3D rendering of how the house or the accessory structure will look as you look up to the house, which is gray box up on the hill. The proposed accessory structures will sit 14 feet below the street level of Camino Monte. In looking at the roof plan, this shows the basement level or the under the slab level, which includes crawl spaces that mechanical equipment will be located. Looking at the site plan for the site, as I mentioned, Camino Monte terminates up here where my cursor is. They're proposing to have a gravel pathway that leads down to the 3 cubes, which will descend and terrace down the side of the mountain through a series of stairs leading to a pool and spa area. As I mentioned, there's a gym, a 450 square foot gym, and 2 guest suites with restrooms closets and sliders, balconies that overlook down into the valley. Once again, here are the dimensions of each of the cubes with a shared utility space underneath. And in order for them to be connected, they're adding a roof structure that will provide shade and then connect all of the units together. They provided us with a cross section how the property, the buildings will be anchored into the ground, showing mechanical space and showing height limits, which are here, ranging from 20 feet from the top of the highest structure itself. We have a building elevation showing the types of materials that will be used. They're proposing to use core 10 steel panels throughout the structure, and then some stucco on the interior balconies with glass tempered railings. As I mentioned, the structures sort of terrace down the side of the hill with a series of stairs leading to a pool area. There's a material board showing the types of materials, the Corten steel, the porcelain tiles, and then the plaster and anodized window frames, and so forth. Again, a landscape plan, they're proposing minimal landscaping. Staff has discussed with them the use of these in-row trees at the bottom of the parcel. That is something that the RC can make a recommendation if this is an appropriate plant type. Let's see, it is a desert willow. We have a grading plan that shows the water retention area and how the site terraces down the side of the hill. When we compare it to where the previous house that was approved on the site, the resulting development of the accessory structures is less grading required than what was previously approved. This is the house that was previously approved. There's a outcropping, large rock outcropping that they're trying to save, and the house and the pool wrapped around it. If I go back one, you can see the rock outcropping here, and they also are saving that unique feature to the site. And as I mentioned, this is the grading plan of the previously approved house, and it extended farther down the hill and had more grading than what was proposed. So looking at some site photographs, this is the terminus of Camino Monte. There's a gate that's there now that's open to a driveway that leads down into the site. And this is not the Dempster house, this is the neighboring house. The Dempster's house is more to the left over here. As you can see, the site is fairly graded already. This is the large outcropping that's on the right of the picture. This is looking down the valley. The neighbors that are adjacent to the properties have been notified. The one neighbor along Camino Taurus has discussed the application with me, and it is a vacation rental, and he just wanted to be aware of what was proposed. This is looking up at the outcropping and up to the top of the hill where the Dempster house sits, which is this photograph right here. So as you can see, the proposed accessory structure will be located approximately 14 feet below the main house. Chair, that concludes my report, and the applicant is here. We recommend approval.
Thank you, Glenn. Any questions for the staff from the committee? Glenn, I'm sorry, was that Dan?
Yeah, I'm curious, where's the driveway to the main house?
Let me go back to the aerial. So the driveway to the main house is right here. So it sort of forks and splits.
Got it. Thank
So
you.
is it coming across the neighbor's lot? They must have an easement.
This portion of Camino Taurus was abandoned. At one point, it was going to connect here, and the city abandoned it. I'm not sure exactly what year it was. But when that happened, you can kind of see where the street was taken over by the 1951. So that's, you know, all these lot lines are a little all over the place up here.
So
Glenn, is there a parking requirement? Is it because the lots are being combined that there's no additional parking required?
There's no additional parking requirement, and the applicant can describe how this driveway will function. There's no covered parking that's required, and my understanding is that this will be a gravel and not paved.
The Airstream trailer that's remaining, do you know what the use of that is? And do they need to get some sort of approval to have a trailer on a single family lot?
We need to get an RV permit, and the applicant can describe that, the project architect.
Okay. Any other questions of the staff from the committee? Okay, the applicant can make a presentation, please. You have 10 minutes. Give us your name.
Hi, my name's Jim Schmidt. I'm the architect, and Aaron Goldman from my office is here too. He wants to chime in. We're going to kind of tag team this. He's going to pull up the drawings as we talk. So as Glenn mentioned, this is a client we've worked with for quite a while. We did the house above, which is a Hugh Captor house, 1959 Hugh Captor house that we worked on about 10 years ago. Our concept to that house was we were adding on to it. We didn't want to add on and make it look 1959. And adding on to it, we did a contrasting addition. I looked at the house and it was a very light, delicate post and beam with a 6-inch thick roof and 2x4 posts and beams on an 8-foot grid. The addition we did was purposely very solid, with steel volumes that were, one was plugged into the house, kind of sliding through the roof down and created a core in the middle of the house. There was a cube that was plugged on the end, became a new master bathroom, part of their new program. And there was a third cube that was freestanding at the time, attached by a trellis. So it is part of the house. And it was a casita. All those were clad in steel. At the time, they chose raw steel that rusted. I was pushing for Corten then, and I think they're on board with Corten now for the new. So they bought the lot below, and Glenn showed the house that we had done for them. It was never meant to be a spec house. It was always meant to be part of a property. They wanted to control the whole thing because they looked down on this. It was meant to be a rental house. And when the city passed the laws that you can't have more one rental house, that project didn't work, and they didn't want to sell it. They wanted to keep the property. So we came up with the idea that to combine the property and enhance the property they have by building an accessory building, which we maxed out at the 1,350 square feet or whatever it is. And they just added more program to what they had. So we're continuing the story of the steel volumes down that, in this case, I sort of saw this as an Italian hillside town cascading down the hillside, following it down. And these are going to be visible from above from their property. So the roofs have gravel on them. There's no solar panels on them because the house, it's part of the house, and the house has solar panels on it already. So looking down from above, this will be these very austere steel cube.
Oops.
Jim, you just froze.
We lost you, Jim.
Let's give him a second.
Am I back?
There you are. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I'm working remotely. I'm doing this on, believe it or not, through my iPhone. So sorry if I keep cutting out. We're continuing the story that's already been started here, and we're continuing it down to the lot below. Like I said, the volumes that we're proposing are just more program, a gym, 2 more bedroom spaces, and we're turning our back to the street and to the house above. And one of the cubes is oriented right to the there's a rock outcropping on the site that's the beautiful feature of the site. So one of them focuses on that. One of them focuses out to a view of the valley. And the third one, which is the gym, kind of focuses into a courtyard that has a Palo Verde tree in it and has a view off in the distance. We've turned our back to the large 3-story house next door. And I would think that the neighborhood would be happy to have this because we could have put a very large house on this lot, and instead it's a relatively small project, straightforward, rather simple actually. And we are connecting it actually, we're not connecting it via a roof, we're connecting it via the crawl space below. So it sits on one foundation, and it's kind of like there's 3 towers sitting on a base, but it is one building. And that's really kind of it.
Okay, thank you. Committee members, questions for the applicant? I have just kind of a technical comment on your roof plan. The roof that's over the gym, it's pitching towards the, I'll call it the courtyard or the entry, but the underground drainage pipe is on the opposite side of the gym. I think if you were to just pitch the roof 180 degrees from where you have it now, it'll be a much closer connection to that underground drainage line. But I like your concept of the gravel roofs, and you're just kind of blending into the ground out there.
Right. The Corten was kind of chosen early on for the last project to pull the colors right out of the mountain because it ages to a really dark color.
Right. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, at this point, we're available for public comments. Is there anybody from the public who would like to make a comment on this project? You'd have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, I'm assuming not, so committee discussion.
I'll start. I love the concept of this. I really think the little individual boxes are great. But the one thing I'm kind of, when I look at the render, it kind of feels like it all blobs together. So I'm not sure. I really love the concept. I love it. It feels like it may be a little Corten intensive. The fact that everything is covered in Corten may make the whole thing kind of bleed together in a way, rather than kind of stand out as these 3 individual cubes, which I think, again, I love that concept. So I'm just thinking I'd love to see you play a little bit more with that, so that they read more distinctly in the landscape.
And we
the other thing I'm a little, one more comment. The other thing I'm a little bit concerned with is detailing the edges of Corten can always be problematic. Looking at some of the overhangs, because obviously it leaks down in weather and can stain stucco. So it's got to be really carefully done on those edges. Okay.
I have a question. How do you access these accessory buildings from the main house? I don't see any walkway, or would it just be you'd be walking down the driveways, or is there a more direct connection?
There's a direct connection from the motor court. There's a stairway that comes down to where that Airstream was, which we actually did put through the city. It has been run through the city and been approved, and it has screening around it, palm trees. It has landscape screening. So it was formally put through the city several years ago. So there is a stairway right there that comes off the motor court down to that little area.
Right.
And as Glenn talked about, there's just a crushed gravel kind of court there in the front. And that's meant to be able to pull the trailer out, which I don't think that trailer is ever going to go anywhere. And it's sort of like a feature, just a little spot, go-to spot, maybe to write or do something. And it's got some Adirondack chairs sitting around it. It's kind of like a little campground there. Area is meant to be able able to pull it out if you needed to. Someone could pull a car down there if they had a, I don't know, a caterer or something that needed to go down there, or, you know, a masseuse came for the gym, or a private trainer or something. So can be driven on, but it's meant to feel very natural. We didn't want to overdevelop this site. We wanted it to feel like it just kind of blend in. And again, we were really after the big feature of the rock formation that's in the middle that we were trying to respect and keep that, because that's what's so great about this site. And the guest house, maybe, I don't know if, you can see my cursor. Can you see my cursor?
No, this is me.
The first one, the one nearest us on the, okay, on the south side, that one is focusing on the rock formation. And the other guest suite is focusing out to the view and looking down sort of over the pool. And the gym itself is focusing into the little courtyard right here. And then there's a view off to the city lights in the distance, and the city in the distance, and the mountains beyond. Well, we didn't want any windows to the large 3-story house next door. So we're trying to screen ourselves from that. And also there's no windows to the street up here. So these are going to look like 3 volumes just kind of growing out of the hillside. They're at different heights. And yeah, they're meant to be sort of very austere and simple.
Well, I think the driveway will be used a little more because you'll have a pool guy driving down there twice a week and maybe a landscape guy every so often. So there will be some usefulness. So I just make sure there's enough roadbed or something to give some stability to that.
Sure.
But I'm very familiar with the lot, and I think this is a great concept. Like you say, it's underdeveloped compared to what most people would build. So I think it's very neighborly friendly. I totally agree with Steve, though, that it's so core 10 intensive. And are those individual boxes from a distance going to suddenly read as one piece because of the similar material and the flat scale? And it's not a complaint, it's just a comment.
I think there could be some shadows because they're kinked and turned, and be some shadows and depth between them. You can see that in one of the elevations. And then there's some landscaping slipped in between them, and rocks, of course. And we couldn't spread them too far apart because we're trying to say this is one building, right, connected underneath. Otherwise, I would have pulled them farther apart.
I love the connection with that roof. And I think maybe the solution is if you had some landscaping that was somewhat substantial between them, the landscaping would break up what looked like one mass and you would realize that it is multiple masses.
Yeah, I think I'm reacting to the exterior perspective facing west, where you've got all of those, it looks like all the levels of the paving has core 10 in the front of them. So basically the whole thing looks like it's kind of this big, metal piece that goes all the way up. So I think if there was some breakup in those materials in between the buildings, then I think it would pop a lot better.
I don't know. I might be the odd man out, but even if it reads as one structure, I still think it looks pretty cool. I think it's a good design.
Yeah.
Dan.
I could see the depths being color concrete or something.
Dan, you're not the odd man out. I think it looks good. I could see if you really wanted it to look like pods. I think what Tom was saying has a lot of weight to it. Introducing some trees in between would, but I also think we're reacting to this piece of paper and this elevation drawing, which, things could have been graphically represented a little differently and maybe fade out some of the buildings in the background. So I think in real life, it's not going to read that way. But I think the landscape in between each one of these, introducing a tree or something tall would help with that also. I thought it was a good comment. But not offended by the core 10. I think the odds look good.
Okay, this is the point where we could have public comments. Is there anybody in the waiting room who would like to make a comment on this project?
I think we already.
I wasn't sure. I just wanted to make sure we didn't miss it. Okay, any further committee discussion?
I just have one comment regarding the landscape, and the staff had brought it up regarding the row of trees along the one property line. Those particular species are semi-deciduous, so they will lose their leaves during the winter. So I think if they created more of a mix of trees along there and staggered the locations would help. And if they're looking at doing some palms to use the Washingtonia foliifera versus the Robusta, so the California native palm. And again, I think the palms could start at a very, shorter height. They could be 6 to 8 feet and just, stagger the height of them and allow them time to grow. And they kind of create a little bit of a screening effect as well by staggering the heights.
Good comments, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other committee comments? Do we have a motion?
Well, I might as well make it. I'm making them all tonight, it seems like.
Okay, Dan.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted, but adding Tom Dosey's suggestions about the trees and the landscaping.
Okay, great.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Sean. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope, great project. Thanks, guys. Okay, that is our agenda. Do we have any committee member comments, questions? Staff, any comments or direction for moving ahead?
Just update that the new planning director started last month. So Christopher Hadwin has been on the team now for a month, and look forward to introducing him to the committee soon. Hopefully we'll be able to have him at the next meeting. He is actually with HSPB, which is also meeting tonight. We had both those meetings tonight. So Member Walsh also had something on that agenda, so he was pulled away from our meeting tonight too. So anyway, just wanted to say that Christopher will be joining us at future meetings. And that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody else? We'll see you all Monday, September 19th.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody.
Bye.
All right.